I think it's kind of mean that people are making fun of it, honestly.
We can talk about that.
I think some people who make fun of it are under the failed assumption that our politics aren't the way that they are, that it isn't just about like a competition for popularity, that it isn't, you know what I mean? Like, especially like Bernie people who I think are good overall. But they also think that like, oh, we live in this world where it's like this. It's like, no, most people like don't know anything and just want to like join a club dance thing.
This is City Paper Live, Pittsburgh City Paper's weekly talk show, where we bring you behind-the-scenes stories from our weekly and online coverage, featuring City Paper writers, friends, and guests. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. It's November 22nd. I'm Lisa Cunningham, the editor at City Paper. With me is senior writer Ryan Deto. Welcome, Ryan.
Hello.
We sound really loud.
Yeah. Oh, we're too loud? Too
I
loud?
mean, I like it because I'm usually too quiet.
Mm.
Tonight is light up night. You going down to it, Ryan?
No, absolutely not.
I
No.
went a few years ago for the first time.
Yeah.
Usually we're working late and
Yeah.
just want to get home after
Yep.
work, but people love it.
Yeah.
I
It
got
is a
stuck in
zoo.
I got stuck in Market Square, wall to wall people. I could not move. I was literally like person behind me, person in front of me, shoving me. I couldn't move for about 10 minutes.
I had a friend. Well, yeah, I have a few light up nights. I've actually been a few times. One time got stuck on the bridge while JoJo was performing, and we made this mistake about taking the subway over to the north side where we left our car, and so we just got stuck on the bridge. It was
There are three.
well, yeah, but that's the bridge we decided. Yeah, but we were already like halfway through.
Okay.
We were like it was like we either go back or it was a point of no return situation. And then another time, a friend of mine lived downtown. She doesn't live here anymore, but she lived downtown and had like a party. And then we like the fireworks when we were out like in the apartment area like when they were going off were just like so loud, because they're like reverberating off the buildings, and it was like, why does anyone like this? This is like it feels like it's so loud. It's like a war zone.
Pittsburgh likes it.
Yeah, they love it.
Anyway, that's tonight.
Yeah, go if you want. I'm not going.
It's listed in our holiday guide this week on stands and online at pghcitypaper.com. It's the official kickoff to the holiday season, though, and
That's
there are
right.
tons of really good stuff coming up in the next few
I
months.
think the market is that set up now too? Is that set up? Okay,
Market
so
Square,
holiday
yeah.
market is set up.
I'd recommend stopping down like in an afternoon, like
Yeah.
late during the week,
Yeah, it's cool.
a weeknight.
It's cool.
Yeah, there's lots of really good
And
local.
they set up an ice rink nearby too.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone knows about it. Most people know about it.
All right, we're going to spend the rest of the show talking about cats. I'm
Yeah.
really excited.
Banjo the cat, go.
Yeah, my cat Banjo, he's awesome. No, we're going to talk economics today, Ryan's
Yay.
choice, manufacturing, the Steel City. Maybe not the Steel City anymore.
Absolutely not.
We might
anymore.
need to change the name of our football team.
No, don't
our
say that. I'm
slogan.
going to get pitchforks.
So maybe we'll be the Techers, the Pittsburgh, the Tech City.
I don't think we're quite there yet.
All right, so talk to me about it.
Yeah, so I wrote a story recently. Pittsburgh manufacturing had historically been a backbone of the economy in the area. It's kind of why you always hear a lot of talk about unions and working class jobs and people, going to their manufacturing jobs, supporting people, blah, 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 blah. It's like if you spend any time in Pittsburgh and you talk to, anyone about the general sense of the modern history of the city, this is what they talk about.
And manufacturing, you're including steel workers.
I mean, any kind of job where you basically are putting something together. It's like
blue collar job.
Blue collar job, yes, exactly. And
it reached its peak in the 50s.
Yes, it was at its peak in the 50s. That was kind of Pittsburgh's peak as well. I think some people think it was later, but that's not. It was in the 50s was when kind of Pittsburgh was at its peak population and its peak manufacturing jobs. There were in the 50s over 380,000 manufacturing jobs. Today, there's only 88,000. And so we've just almost lost 300,000 jobs,
which is
in manufacturing.
A little over 78%.
Yeah, which has dropped at 78% loss, and I think it's just one of those. It's one of those it's another one of those signs, and I've been starting to write about this recently, and people in the know have seen this coming for a long time, but I still don't think it's hit the region rhetorically, kind of where we are as a city economically. We are not a manufacturing city at all. They're not growing at all. They're still continuing to shrink year after year after year. Some other cities are starting to see a bounce back a little bit in the manufacturing job. Detroit is an example of one.
You have an article online this week, and it said that Detroit actually added more jobs than Pittsburgh did.
Yes, it did. Yeah, which is
I
really
thought was
interesting.
really surprising.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I didn't think that either. But a lot of the big reason that Detroit had a lot of jobs was because they grew these blue collar, working class jobs. I don't really like that term, but that's the term that a few economists have used. And so they've grown those jobs. Mostly that's because of a bailout that they got from the feds
for the auto industry
to like keep the auto industry alive, basically, because after the recession it was probably going to die. So they're growing that, but that's not Pittsburgh at all. Like we're continuing to shrink our manufacturing job, the lowest point in history, and at the same time, what we're actually seeing growth in is these creative core jobs, which are like tech and managers and like administrators for corporations, basically, that have a lot of headquarters here in the Pittsburgh area.
Do you know any? Can you give any examples of any companies that have brought in a lot?
Like Uber. There's a bunch of driverless car companies. There's companies like Duolingo that have been growing here. There's robotics companies are really starting to take off. I've had not only to just like you see robotics companies doing stuff, had conversations with people who aren't even from Pittsburgh that are like, oh, my brother works at a robotics company there. You know.
See, I think that a football team called the Robots would kill. Get rid of Steely McBean.
Well, I mean,
and have a robot.
We should definitely just get rid of Steely McBean. Period.
But the robots.
He's the worst mascot.
The Pittsburgh Robots.
Yeah. I mean, we're not quite there yet, though, because we had
look at that receiver, or I don't know, whoever throws the touch.
Yeah, but I mean, what?
Football.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
His arm is like a steel robot.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. Go bots. Yeah.
Yeah, go bots.
Yeah. Maybe like our soccer team should change their name to it. Take it over as like the new.
No. The Riverhounds. That works.
What? Riverhound? What's a Riverhound?
It's a Riverhound. It works.
What is it?
A
dog.
Yeah.
A dog that lives on the river.
Yeah.
There are no river hounds.
They are, and they're killing it this year.
There's a Chesapeake Bay Retriever.
Anyway, the robots. Can the tech industry replace the job losses that we've had in the steel industry?
Well, it has, to an extent. Not as quick as people want it to. Over the years we have been growing the economy post-recession. This year we actually lost jobs. So it kind of is and kind of isn't, and I just think it's like why I want to talk about this on air, because I think it's a really complex subject that we have to think about what our economic future is going to be for the region, and a lot of people are still talking about it as this manufacturing hub or energy hub, or these kind of like these trades, blue collar, working class jobs.
But didn't Trump say he was going to bring coal back?
Oh well, yeah. I mean, coal's gone. Coal is continuing to die. I mean, no, probably not. I mean, it's been outcompeted by natural gas, and so it's not gonna overtake natural gas. It's less efficient. It's just there's no. Yes.
And are there still steel jobs in Pittsburgh?
Well, yeah, there are a few. There's still steel facilities in Clairton. There's still a steel facility in Braddock. That's about it, though. There used to be obviously like so many like everywhere, but now there's like one or two.
So one of the things that you bring up in your articles is that people think that natural gas cracker plants and fracking are going to be the future.
Yeah. One of the things that was funny that I wrote about was natural gas companies, when they really started to drill and produce a lot of gas in the region, were also telling everybody that this would lead to a manufacturing boom, that this would create a bunch of manufacturing jobs, that Pittsburgh would become like the new hub of manufacturing.
But it's brought some jobs, right?
Well, it's brought jobs to drill the oil, about 7,000. And then since then, though, since that time that they were telling everybody that like we're going to be a manufacturing boom, we lost like 7,000 manufacturing
So
jobs.
they're temporary.
Well, I mean, they're as temporary as it takes to. I mean, there's unlimited. I think one of the things that people don't understand about the fracking industry is that there's like unlimited natural gas reserves, like underneath. Not unlimited. There's a finite amount, but there's so many that they could do it for decades. You know, they could drill natural gas for so long. Pennsylvania is now the second producer of natural gas, second largest producing state of natural gas in the country, just behind Texas. And there's a possibility we would overtake Texas because a lot of Texas is going like other states where they're kind of looking at wind and solar a lot more, especially in Texas because it's like a desert. So I guess that's where we are, is that it does produce jobs, not that many, I think is something I wish people would really understand. But boosters of the natural gas industry, including Rich Fitzgerald, including the companies themselves, are telling everybody that it's so important to the economy. I think the numbers show that it's up in the air. It's up in the air how good it is for jobs, you know? And people always say jobs, you know? And we're just not seeing that manufacturing growth that we were promised. The growth we're seeing is in the tech industry. So I think you could argue that you don't need to uphold this energy economy because it's probably going to be more of economy focused towards these really creative, more educated jobs. And obviously you want a balanced economy where you have a lot of everything, but that's not the forces that are playing out in the Pittsburgh area. So there's going to need to be some kind of federal investment, I think, if you wanted to actually have more working class jobs, if that makes sense.
Sure. We're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to ask you, you know that old game, Fuck, Marry, Kill?
Yeah.
Where you're given 3 people, and you have to choose which one you want to fuck, which one you want to marry, which one you want to kill. And we obviously don't really want you to kill somebody.
Yeah.
So I have 3 things.
All right.
And you have to choose one.
Okay.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Cracker Plants. Hyperloop.
Oh my God. Marry Amazon because they're like a massive company that have a total monopoly at this point. They bring in the big bucks, you know? They're stable.
And they can provide you with clothing,
yeah, sure.
snacks, anything you want.
Yes. That's probably, what were the other, Cracker
Plants and Hyperloop.
Well, I guess fuck Hyperloop. One, it's not real. It'll never happen.
So you're masturbating to Hyperloop.
I guess.
It's a weird game.
Yeah, kill the cracker plant because it's going to pollute so much.
But if it was an actual cracker plant, you would marry it.
Like, if it was like Nabisco
producing,
crackers.
delicious crackers.
Yeah, no, I'd fuck it, you know.
Pittsburgh's future. So you think Pittsburgh's future is in the creative core and tech?
Well, I don't think that. I think it's what the numbers are showing right now. That's where our direction is going. Obviously, the region can dictate what its future wants to be. It can with policies that it wants to implement, with trying to get federal aid that it wants to change. That can always change what the future of our region is going to be. It depends on what the direction that our leaders want it to go in. Right now, they're split, right? They're split between Mayor Peduto, who says tech is the way to go. We want a clean region so we can continue this momentum we have in the tech industry. And then Fitzgerald is kind of saying, no, natural gas is what is helping the region, and we want to keep boosting that. We want to take advantage of the natural gas we have here to create more cracker plants, to create more manufacturing. Now, this is where I think that argument doesn't actually hold up to a little bit of history, because there's Louisiana has a bunch of cracker plants. They're one of the other regions in the country that have already pursued this and have already gotten a lot of cracker plants, and their manufacturing growth is 400 jobs over 10 years or something like that. That's nothing. That's like what's the point, you know? So
So when you talk about the politicians disputing which is more important, are you talking about which one is more important to try to invest more money in, try to like spend more time on bringing in?
Well, like
voting
politician jobs in the region, like local politicians, is to encourage the direction of the region, and that means reaching out to businesses, trying to court business to come into the area, trying to create infrastructure that people in the area will want to use, that businesses will be appreciative of. That's like their job, and so we have this split right now over what it is. Is it going to be a cracker plant? Is it going to be tech? And some people will also argue, well, we can do both. That's something that I think we really need to think about as well, because one is an extractive industry. One leads to air pollution, to potential cancer risks, these kind of things. Do we want that versus do we want this other thing? And I think the reason it really is a sticking point is tech is already showing to be growing on its own, basically. Like we didn't get any federal investments from anybody to say, look, let's make Pittsburgh this next robotics hub. This kind of happened organically.
Is that nationwide, or does that just Pittsburgh?
Does Pittsburgh have a tech? No, I mean, tech is growing a lot of places.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Silicon Valley, but it's growing a lot of places on the West Coast.
Is it growing more in Pittsburgh than other places?
Pittsburgh is above the national average in terms of those kind of jobs, yeah. But Pittsburgh is also really struggling with maintaining and growing its manufacturing, working class, and even its service jobs are still just maintaining. So I think there are solutions to those issues. I would argue, Ryan Deto would argue, that maybe the right path forward is to continue the growth of tech, but also ensure that we raise the minimum wage, that we do these other things to help those lower class jobs make more money, basically, so that it's more attractive to take a working class job here in Pittsburgh. You could also argue that there's proposals about the Green New Deal, right, which is still in its infancy. We don't really know what it's going to be. But really the Green New Deal is just basically a federal investment in the area that would encourage the Pittsburgh area, for example, to maybe build more windmills, and that produces a lot of jobs, and those are a lot of working class jobs. And I think that's something that we do, that we raise our minimum wage. Maybe that increases our population again too. And maybe when you increase population, you're going to have more construction jobs. You're going to have more of these kind of things. So I think there's are these dynamics. One of the goals is to increase the population. That's how you lead to steady job growth. But will the cracker plant and fracking do that? So far, it hasn't shown to.
And is Pittsburgh's population struggling?
Yeah, it's been lowering forever. A lot of that is because we have too many deaths. That we have a very old population, so a lot of people we don't have as many births as we have deaths. So we're just losing population because the people are dying off, basically.
And you had a story the other week about the immigrants. They're trying to bring in more immigrants.
Yeah, well, I mean, immigrants are the reason that basically every metro area is growing. It's because of international migration. Pittsburgh is no different. The only growing sector in the Pittsburgh area is immigration. And so we also have to think about that. How do we encourage more immigrants to move here, right? Are immigrants taking those jobs at the cracker plant, at these other things, at construction companies? Well, no. Actually, our state is doing the opposite. We're actually discouraging immigrants from taking those jobs. We passed the E-Verify law that basically says if you want to work in the construction industry, workers can tip off ICE to say that you might be undocumented or not. So it's a hypocrisy kind of thing, honestly. And I really hope people understand that when we are subsidizing or supporting these industries like the fracking industry, like the cracker plant, I don't know how much that's actually led to growth. We've been fracking for the last almost 10 years now. Where's our growth? Where is it? It's led to 7,000, maybe 8,000 jobs in the actual fracking industry. But that just seems like either one, that's taken by people from out of state that come in and know how to do these things, or there's a few trades unions in the area that know how to build it. So we're kind of just moving those trade unions job around. We're not seeing large scale economic growth in the area because of that industry. I think that's the point I'm trying to make, and that's something Fitzgerald has said, but the numbers don't back that up. And I'd love to interview him about it, but he probably will never want to talk to me about
Fitz, give us a call.
Just go on Marty, and he'll just like this.
So why is it a problem if Fitzgerald and Peduto don't agree?
Well, because we have to decide how we want to move forward as a region. You know, like you have to come to a consensus.
And what if they can't?
Well,
is that where other politicians come in?
Yeah, I mean, that would just lead to probably a growing political split where you would have other politicians that are like, no, I'm on this side, and then eventually you'd have like a little infighting. It could lead to different campaigns. It could lead to different elections. It could lead to primarying certain politicians that aren't on the side that maybe the voters want. And I think even as the leaders of the region are having this split, the people of the Pittsburgh area really have to think about how they want the region to move forward. And I think a lot of times they've just, for the last 10 years, we've just kind of been not thinking about it at all. We've kind of been burying our heads in the sand and going, oh, well, I don't know.
The ones that have thought about it, what is your consensus of what they think? Like, have you heard anything from readers?
I think there's people in the city that are pretty loud and vocal about it that are anti-cracker plant. They don't want to see it. They're afraid of the air pollution that it will cause.
But
I think that's a lot of
outside
their
of
concern.
Pittsburgh, though. It's
Outside of Pittsburgh, but this is what I don't know, honestly. I think there are a lot of groups outside of Pittsburgh that are like, no, we want the jobs, we want these things, but I don't actually know, because there's plenty of people outside of Pittsburgh that are anti-cracker plant. There's people in Beaver County that are anti-cracker plant. Maybe they're not as big as the other, but how do we actually gauge where they are? I'm not just going to take I'm not going to take Fitzgerald's word that plenty of people tell me this. How can I believe that? How can anyone actually believe that? I'm not going to take Peduto's word that, no, this is what people want. We have to make this an issue that the region votes on, basically.
I'm curious because a lot of natural gas employees praise it. Are they getting paid well?
Yes, very well paid jobs.
So even if there aren't a ton of jobs, the ones that have the jobs
yeah,
are
and
well
that's
paid.
kind of what the Pittsburgh region is about. Like this harks back to the E-Verify law, is that Guillermo Perez, who is a union organizer with the steelworkers, and he runs this Latino rights union coalition in Pittsburgh, was saying that a lot of the trades union is kind of about maintaining the jobs that exist for the people who exist. It's not about growing their union. It's about making sure that their jobs are maintained at the level that they are. Whereas these other labor activists are saying we need to grow the union. We need more people in the union. We don't need to just maintain the people. And I think this is kind of true with how the fracking in the cracker plant is going to work. We build one cracker plant, allegedly 6,000 construction jobs for that one cracker plant. So that one gets built. So
that sounds like a lot when I hear the number.
Yeah, but like I said, we've lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs since the 1950s. So yeah, it does, but also the region is 2.2 million people. Like 6,000 jobs, like that is good. You definitely want to keep fighting for those jobs. But what the cracker plant will do is that, one, not all of them are going to be built in Pennsylvania, right? Because some of them are being proposed in Ohio and West Virginia, and so you're going to have those 6,000 jobs. My guess is that you finish one cracker plant, the one in Beaver County that's currently being built. Then maybe you build another one down the river. Okay, so you just transfer those 6,000 jobs. And then you basically just transferring those until the cracker plants are done. And then your hope is that the plastics that they produce will create manufacturing jobs. That's the hope. But again, that hasn't really been the case in Louisiana, right? Like Baton Rouge area has added manufacturing jobs, but the cracker plants are in between Baton Rouge and New Orleans has lost a lot of manufacturing jobs. So are you just moving those around? Are you basically just keeping the jobs for the people that have them now, but you're not actually growing them like they're being sold as? And maybe you're just exporting those plastics to China or to wherever. And so
So you're saying there's not accountability, you can't follow up on?
You can, but you have to hope. You have to hope that the area will say, no, we want to create plastic manufacturers here. And this is what Fitzgerald would probably fight for.
And are the people at the cracker plants in Beaver County, are they going to be people that live in Beaver County? But you're saying they
I
could.
believe so.
Okay.
But people working at the cracker plant are only going to be 600 people. Once it's done, it's jobs for 600 people. And I think this is something we have to remember about manufacturing is a lot of it has just become a lot more efficient since the 50s. And so they just don't produce as many jobs as they used to. And so this is why the country and a lot of superstar cities are leading the way with these kind of more educated jobs. And I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just like on my soapbox, but I just think like I wish people would really think about this. I wish people who are against the cracker plant too would think about the economic arguments against it. A lot of times it's just about air quality. It's just about these things. And that's a very powerful message, but that's not powerful enough to convince pro-business politicians like Fitzgerald to stop doing it, you know? That's not powerful enough to convince those people in Beaver County who want to see their, economy grow to say, oh, well, your air quality is bad, so we're not going to do it. And I think there needs to be more of an economic argument against the cracker plant. I think there's one to be made, I guess.
All right, fuck, marry, kill.
Yeah.
People who park in bike lanes.
Okay.
Boomers. Colcom.
Oh, okay. Well, you have to kill Qualcomm because they are literally the reason that we have this nativist boost. Stephen Miller is the head aide to President Trump, and he is literally a white supremacist. And everything that he has been sending out and reading over the last years has been funded by the Qualcomm Foundation.
And if you're not familiar, you can look at some of the stories Ryan has written on our website.
So if you care about white nationalism in America and you want to see it gone, like I do, then Qualcomm has to be gone. They have to be. Their money has to be put to better causes than funding anti-immigrant hate groups.
And if you're not familiar with his rants against boomers or people who park in bike lanes, follow him on Twitter. So
well, I ride my bike to work most days. Not today because it was raining, but I was gonna be late, and I was gonna be late, and I was gonna be late too.
Boomers, people who park in bike lanes.
Wait, so I have to fuck one, I have to marry. Well, I guess I'd fuck a boomer, you know. 'Cause there's some pretty attractive boomers out there. And I have to marry the people who park in bike lanes? No. I'll marry a boomer then.
All right.
I'll marry a boomer, and then.
You're only gonna be alive for what, you know?
Yeah, you get a little gold digger situation.
That's a pretty good choice.
I'm having sex with the people who park in bike lanes?
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
You are.
I need 2 kills.
No, you made your choice. So far, you're in bed with people who park in bike lanes and the Hyperloop. Yeah, that's quite the threesome.
Mine too. Well, you're giving these are so
these
unfair.
Are awesome.
These are the
right.
most unfair fuck marry kills
So
I've ever seen.
Going back to the economics, you mentioned minimum wage. I read something this morning, I think, how something said that we're going to have our minimum wage raised to $9.50 by 2022.
Well.
Tell me about what I read.
So a bill passed the state Senate
Okay.
that would raise Pennsylvania's minimum wage to $9.50 by 2022.
Okay.
Now,
is that going to get passed?
Well, from what I've read, it's unlikely that it will be passed in the House or brought up in the House. So it just depends how much pressure.
Because
Mike Turzai.
Because it's
literally because of Mike Turzai.
Oh, he thinks it's too high.
Oh, he doesn't.
Raising
I don't think
$9.50.
he wants. I don't think him and his other members in the Republican House want to raise it at all. I don't think they believe in raising the minimum wage. So the state Senate did, so maybe, but Stephen Caruso, a former intern of ours who works at the Penn Capital Star, wrote an article about how it doesn't have a lot of support in the state house, which is also controlled by Republicans.
So what has to happen to raise the minimum wage in Pennsylvania?
Mike Turzai has to bring up the bill, let it be argued on the floor, and see if the Democrats can get enough Republican support to do so.
Or do you have to wait until he's out of office?
Or you have to get him out of office. Or flip the House, which is possible.
Is that possible next year?
It's possible. I had once thought that the state Senate could be flipped. That seems a lot less unlikely, a lot more unlikely now, because a Democratic state senator recently left the Democratic Party and is now caucusing with the Republicans. So he makes himself, this one guy, this one state senator in Lucerne County, has made that task infinitesimally more difficult for the Democrats now. His own party, or his left party.
Who are you talking about?
His name is Utachak.
Ooh,
Yeah, he's from like Wilkes-Barre area.
that'd be hell of a jersey name on the back of our Pittsburgh
Yeah.
Robots.
Yeah. Yes. And so the state senate they have to flip 4 seats now instead of 3, which there was a chance to flip 3, and there still is a chance to flip those 3, but that 4th one is going to be hard. There's a chance, but
But if we do raise the minimum wage, you think that more workers would be willing to come into Pennsylvania, correct?
that would make sense, right?
Yeah.
It's a more attractive job. I mean, like if I mean, what's funny is that it's not super. It wouldn't be super effective to Allegheny County people because $2 more, $2.25 more an hour might not be enough to actually offset the cost of living raises that we're having in the city, in the area, and it might not be enough. I think I wrote a story about how even UPMC workers who are making around $15 an hour still struggle to pay some bills at times. So really a minimum wage much higher than that is probably necessary to really boost an attractive area to like move to Pittsburgh, even if you're an orderly at
So
UPMC.
is
even
Ryan
if you're-
Deto proposing $20 per hour?
I think some people have been I mean, obviously the Fight for 15 is the campaign. It's funny the campaign's been going on for so long that probably needs to be raised. Some people are talking about $18 an hour.
And
Yes.
meanwhile, we're still fighting for $9.50.
Yeah, because our wage is just the federal minimum wage of $7.25, which is extremely low.
This has nothing to do with minimum wage,
Yeah.
but I want to note a tweet that I think you retweeted
Okay.
that just blew my mind. Dean Cain, Superman,
Yeah, let's talk it.
endorsing
Sean Parnell.
Connor Lamb's opponent.
Yeah, Connor Lamb's opponent, Sean
Why?
Parnell.
Why Superman?
Dean Cain is a big
I didn't
Republican
know that
supporter.
till I looked
Yeah.
at his Twitter feed
He
and
has
I was
been
like,
for a
whoa,
long,
he's
long
like
time.
Pat Sajak, like.
Yeah, he's been a Republican supporter for a long
But why
time.
would Dean Cain endorse a Pennsylvania candidate?
Just to give them a little bit of
Why?
a boost. The same reason why.
Scott Baio.
Yeah.
What's with Scott Baio?
Scott Baio's a big Republican supporter too. Gosh, get with it. He's like spoke at the Trump. He spoke at the like RNC.
I don't know everything, Ryan.
Yeah, it's just a celebrity endorsement in the same way. I mean, like Dean Cain's not that big of a celebrity. Sorry, Dean, not that big of a celebrity anymore. But
Which is what blew my mind. Like, why is this guy coming out of the
yeah,
like
well,
shadows
I
to
think
endorse a
I
Pennsylvania
think
candidate?
well, Parnell is already kind of a well-known name around the right. He's been a Fox News contributor for a long time. He's written books about his experience in the Iraq War. He has a lot of Twitter followers if you follow him. So yeah, he's kind of. I think the Republicans think that this is their chance to flip back a seat because Connor Lamb's seat narrowly voted for Trump in 2016, but Connor Lamb easily won his seat in 2018 by 12 points against an incumbent, Keith Rothfuss, who wasn't that popular, but he's still an incumbent. So there's that. So I think they think there's a chance they can flip that seat. That's
and
why
that
he's trying
Dean
to get
Cain
this
will
into-
help them. Anything
anything else.
endorsement.
Yeah.
What I would do if I were Connor Lamb's team is so many actors have played Superman. I would try to find somebody else that played Superman and get him to endorse.
Zack Snyder's the director.
Who's the guy from around here who endorsed?
Oh yeah,
Quinto.
Zachary Quinto. Yeah, yeah, he could
Did
endorse
he play
Connor.
Superman?
No,
Oh, sorry.
he was in
Anyway.
Heroes.
Anyway,
He's
we
in
can,
Star Trek.
We can find
He's
some
Spock.
B-list celebrity to.
Maybe even more than a B list. Who knows? Where's Christina Aguilera? You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Get her
yeah.
out here.
Yeah.
First of all, yeah, and also Dean Cain's not from Pittsburgh, so who cares? Like, just saying.
Maybe we should get Batman.
Michael Keaton.
Yes, Connor
Oh,
Lamb.
Keaton, if you're out there,
Yeah.
talk to Connor's team.
Yeah,
I mean,
let's
he
make it
supports
happen.
Democrats, right? I think Keaton does, right? He's pretty liberal. Man, that would be
Yeah.
amazing.
Connor.
Superman versus Batman.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Keaton is much more
And
of
that's
a
going to give us
A-list celebrity
yeah,
still at
come
this
on,
point.
yeah.
Like,
Keaton, Connor. Give us a
Yeah.
call.
Oh man. Oh, that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
a really good idea.
Yeah, I'm fucking brilliant.
Just for the headline itself, Batman versus Superman, the fight for Pennsylvania 17th Congressional District.
We can have Abby illustrated, our
Oh
designer.
man, that'd be so good.
Oh, let's just make it happen.
Yeah.
You better tweet this show to Connor's people.
I can't. I know his brother, his campaign manager.
All right. And his uncle is back in it.
His uncle is the city controller of Pittsburgh, and
Michael
he's running
Lamb,
for
right?
running for state auditor general. If anyone cares about that.
What are the chances of that? Was he running against DePasquale?
No, DePasquale is term limited. So DePasquale is running for Congress in his York County, Harrisburg district. That's got a good chance to flip because Scott Perry, who sits on that seat right now, is really, really conservative, like an arch conservative. And that district has been kind of moving more towards liberals. But Michael Lamb's chances, from what I've been reading, is pretty good because he's the only Western Pennsylvania candidate right now, and the other ones are two are from Lancaster. Sorry.
Come on.
And
Shout out
one
to
is from
Chameleon
Philadelphia.
Club.
So, if you can get the Western Pennsylvania in the primary, kind of the way John Fetterman won his lieutenant governor's race, is that he just killed out in Western Pennsylvania, and then it was like kind of over after that.
All right, one more fuck, marry, kill.
Okay.
Fruity Tootsie Rolls. The movie Jaws. Sinar.
Chinar.
God damn it.
Ooh.
I mostly see you tweet about that. That's how I don't know how to pronounce it.
I'm gonna marry Chinar. No, I'm gonna fuck Chinar.
But that means you only get it once.
That's okay. And then I'm gonna marry Fruity Tootsie Rolls because I can't live without them. And I'm gonna kill the movie Jaws.
But you love Jaws.
I do love that movie, but at the same time, that movie led to like a fucking almost an extinction of sharks because so many people were totally irrationally afraid of sharks after that movie, and they went out and they just caught them all. And there were a lot of fishermen companies that came up that were their goal was to just catch sharks for game.
I'm gonna argue with you though.
It really decimated
I'm
the
gonna
shark
argue
population.
with you because Jaws also led to one of the greatest movies ever, which Alex, who was producing today's show, reviewed for last year's holiday movie.
Jaws 3D.
Santa Jaws, which was so freaking good.
Yeah. Well, it did lead to a lot of shark movies, but I mean, a lot of them are really bad.
Not Santa Jaws.
Yeah, you got one. Let's think of some other bad shark movies. There's so many, I guess Sharknado.
I can't think of any.
Oh, really? There's Deep Deep Blue Sea.
I've never seen Sharknado.
There's a ton.
Oh, the 90210 guy stars in that, right? The blonde one.
I think so.
Sharknado, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Maybe he could endorse Lamb.
Yeah. That's what
No. His name, I think, is Ian, right? 90210, blonde guy from Sharknado. He's going to endorse Michael Lamb.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'll be the big... People in Pennsylvania will freak out about that. They'll be like, what? Sharknado guy endorsing Michael Lamb?
God, the Lambs are just going to hire us. There's a life
I've written a lot of mean stuff
journalism.
about Connor Lamb, actually.
Oh, come on.
More Lambs?
Yeah, are there any other Lambs in
I'm
Pittsburgh's
sure there
political
are. I mean, I
future?
think Connor's dad was something, and some Democratic official or something for a while.
Has anybody given him a Trump nickname, Lion Lamb?
No, he's Lamb the Sham.
Like lions and lambs? Lion Lamb?
No, he's
Roaring like a
Well,
lion.
no. See, you're trying to force this thing. I'm saying is that he's already been given a nickname by Trump, Lamb the Sham. Yeah.
If you
He
can't
already
hear,
has Lion. He already has Lion Ted or whatever.
if you can't hear Alex because he doesn't
he
have a
does
mic,
double O's.
Ryan's not just talking to himself.
Oh yeah, sorry. Alex is asking me if Connor Lamb's Trump nickname is Lion Lamb, as in lions and lambs, but it's not. He already has a nickname, and it's Lamb the Sham, which I actually think is one of Trump's better nicknames. Lamb the Sham. It's pretty good. It's catchy. You can kind of run a like, oh look, he's a sham. Well, that's what they're trying to say. Is like he's not moderate. He's actually really into Nancy Pelosi. I would argue that he is more of a sham in the way that some of his early votes were with Republicans and were not Democratic at all. They were actually very bad, I would say.
What about Lamb the ham?
Oh yeah. Wow, he is a ham.
Is he an egomaniac?
No.
Okay.
In the way that I like ham.
I hate ham. It's my least favorite food in the world. Oh, that's a good
he's not
thing.
really a
What
ham.
are
Who's a
What are
ham?
you eating for Thanksgiving?
The huge.
We're not having a
Turkey.
show next week because everyone is
yeah.
off for
That's right.
Thanksgiving.
Turkey
'Cause-
legs.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So my tradition is to pick up the in-law and meet my parents at a casino buffet. We go every year.
Which one?
We usually go to the Hollywood Casino in Harrisburg.
Okay. Yep.
Which is like an hour from my parents'
Yep.
house. We went to the Rivers last year. This year we're mixing it up and we're going to, and I just completely forgot the name of the casino.
How many
Rocky
are
Mountain.
There? Oh, where's
Rocky-
that? Is that in
It's like 2 hours away.
in West Virginia?
I can't remember. Anyway, I freaking love
Just 2 hours
buffets.
away, like Hyperloop.
Rocky Gap. Oh my goodness.
Alright,
Are you cooking at home?
I'm going over to friends, but I probably will prepare most of my food.
Are you having any CNR? You know you can only have it one night.
It's Chinar.
I don't know, it's not.
Just spell it with a CH. Spell it with a CH.
Chinar.
So me and my friends made a beer with Chinar in it.
Ew.
So it's probably gonna be really gross, but I think it might be. Well, I don't know if it'll be ready by then because my buddy bottled it on Tuesday.
Did you think of a name for it?
No.
Beer char.
Beer char. Oh, that just rolls off the tongue. Yeah, it's probably gonna be really gross. I'm hoping the Chinar will enhance it somehow, but it probably won't.
What is Chinar exactly?
It's a liqueur. It's an Italian
That really-
liqueur.
that
It's
really
it's a
narrows it down.
digestif. It's a liqueur made with herbs, and in the same way that like Fernet and what else? The more famous ones, Alex, you know? Campari. Yes, like
I've
Campari.
never had any of them.
Wow.
They're like syrupy.
Syrupy,
Sweet or bitter.
sweet, bittersweet usually. Super Punch is a
Bittersweet. It sounds
popular
sad.
one. Huh?
It sounds like a sad drink.
Well, what about
Bittersweet.
chocolate? Bittersweet chocolate. You don't like bittersweet chocolate?
I like really sweet chocolate. Not bitter.
Bitter and sweet is good. You want those. You want a combination like that. You don't want something to be overly sweet or overly bitter.
Would a fruity Tootsie Roll beer be good?
No, that's just sweet. That's just straight up sweet.
Instead of a Midori sour, you could put fruity Tootsie Rolls in it. Maybe.
Maybe a Chinar flavored Tootsie Roll. Oh my god.
You can only have one of them though.
Chinar Gushers.
Yes.
Oh, Chinar
Yes.
Gushers.
I should have had a mic.
Oh.
Yeah, Alex.
Alex just said
threw-
Chinar Gushers.
Yeah.
Chinar, if you're out there.
We are going to make so
Listening.
much money from today's show.
just take my idea. Just take Alex's idea. I don't even care. I just want it to happen. I do think Chinar candy would be good.
Huh.
'Cause
Are there
it's-
any alcoholic candies? I think there
Yeah,
are.
I think so. There's a ton.
Well, they have those little chocolates that have like the liquor in the middle.
Yeah.
You could do that with it.
Yeah. that's it.
Bittersweet chocolate with Chinar.
I
in
don't
the
know if
middle.
Chinar would go with chocolate because you don't really want herby chocolate.
I don't know. I really like it.
You want like a chocolate that tastes like herbs, that tastes
Sure.
like no.
Yeah.
No.
Rosemary chocolate would be really good.
Would it?
Mm-hmm.
Mint is an herb.
That's true.
Mint is an herb.
Mint works.
Yeah, no shit.
That's my last $1 million idea.
Mint chocolate. Holy shit.
right.
I think we're good, right?
All right.
Yeah.
We're cutting the show a little short.
Started late, cut in short.
That's what we do.
That's
We're
what we
City
do.
Paper.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for us. We're wrapping it up. Check with us back in 2 weeks and have a good Thanksgiving
Happy
break.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
We'll end it with the dance,
Oh yeah.
the Pete dance, right? Mayor Pete dance.
Like that, right?
Cut us off. Cut us off.